Have you ever taken a moment to wonder what it would be like to be the female figure in the middle of a polygamous family where everyone's vying for attention, but somehow you're always at center stage? That's Robyn Brown in a nutshell. The dutiful, selfless wife, always behind the scenes, orchestrating the whole thing in her own best interest. But here's the reality. It's all an act. And Robyn's the one behind the curtain, yanking the strings. The twist? She's become so good at playing the game of the good wife that even the cameras hardly ever catch her real plays. Now you may be wondering, is it as shady as it appears? Hold on to your seats, folks, because we're going to reveal the drama that went under the radar for everyone. Robyn's skill at playing the victim while masterminding everything around her is something out of a daytime soap opera. This drama, though, is all too real. I'm here to spill the tea on how Robyn has quietly remained at the center of much of the Brown family's breakdown. And you can bet that once you hear this, you'll never see her the same way again. Hi guys, it's Emma from Next Chapter on TLC. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment before we get into all the drama and our thoughts on Robyn's involvement in it all. Is she an angel of mercy, or the manipulator mastermind behind it all? Let's get started. We've all met Robyn Brown, the soft, gentle, tirelessly devoted wife of the Brown family. She presents herself on the outside as being the ultimate picture of selflessness, always available with advice, always jumping in to accommodate everyone's needs, and always prioritizing family first. But look closer, and there's a whole different story going on behind the scenes. Robyn has this amazing ability to transform herself into the heroine of every scene. But what if I were to tell you that's not an accident? That's all part of a well-crafted persona, a polished image of sweetness and sacrifice that conceals a much more profound reality. Because while Robyn is always the one doing the giving, the actual truth is that she's usually the one playing behind the scenes, engineering things to work in her favor. Reflect on it. Recall when Christine made the decision to leave the family? Robyn's whole reaction was all about her being brokenhearted, completely devastated. She argued it was because Christine couldn't really embrace her as family. But what if, perhaps, Christine's departure had more to do with Robyn's poisonous presence than anyone's been willing to acknowledge? Robyn's talent for falling into the victim role, wrapping herself in emotional weakness, conceals the reality that she's always at the center of the turmoil. It's an unpleasant reality to acknowledge, but the family's continued tension, the emotional unsteadiness, the shattered relationships, and even the financial issues all appear to emanate from a single source: Robyn's selfishness, cleverly disguised beneath the veneer of self-sacrifice. She's a master manipulator, and we're only just beginning to unmask the carefully constructed facade she's established. Let me take you through how Robyn, in the guise of niceness and compassion, has gradually but inexorably contributed to the dismantling of this family. Robyn's almost eerily skilled at turning herself into the victim in nearly every situation. It's like she's perfected emotional manipulation, using it to shape the story inside the Brown household. We've seen it over and over again. When something doesn't swing in her favor, she breaks out her signature moves, guilt trips, those quiet jabs laced with passive aggression. And, of course, the tears. What makes it particularly disturbing is how naturally she does it. She succeeds in presenting herself as the victim, despite the fact that she is responsible for so much of the tension. Just look at how she handles things with Kody. We've all noticed how his attention has shifted almost entirely toward Robyn, leaving the other wives virtually ignored. And Robyn doesn't even have to try that hard. A few sorrowful, victim-tinged remarks, and suddenly, Kody's eating out of her hand. She is acutely aware of how to manipulate his emotions. Anytime she's annoyed about something, rather than just coming out and being honest with him, she'll pull away, toss out some subtle jabs, or play the wounded woman, slowly dismantling his defenses. Kody, always wanting to maintain peace, falls straight into her trap. She leads him to believe that he must channel all his energy into her, and he does, blissfully unaware of the destruction that decision leaves in its wake. And the kicker is, Robyn doesn't just pull this shtick on Kody. She plays it with the other wives too, especially Christine and Mary were also trapped in Robyn's web. When Christine made that painful choice to leave the family, Robyn immediately positioned herself as the broken wife who was heartbroken that Christine had left her. She complained to Kody about how hurt and saddened she was by Christine's decision. But there's irony here. Robyn's complicity in that breakup was never really owned. She wasn't there for Christine, had little compassion for her troubles, but was able to make herself out to be the victim. It's the old poor me routine, one that somehow, miraculously always seems to succeed. And let's not forget Robyn's reputation for getting in a backhanded shot at Mary. She'll slip in a snide remark about Mary not fully supporting Kody, suggesting that Mary isn't quite as committed to the family as Robyn is. It's a clever play meant to undermine Mary's position without ever directly tackling her. Thus, Robyn is not villainized. She seems to be the mediator, attempting to remain calm while the rest of the group brings about drama. Robyn's emotional manipulation is far more than merely crying or playing sweet. It's all about dictating the way others see her, ensuring she is portrayed as the sensitive, misunderstood wife who's fighting to keep the family together. And that perpetual game of tug-of-war with feelings is what keeps the Browns mired in a never-ending cycle of chaos. The tragic thing? Kody and the other wives fall into her hands most of the time. Kody's marriage with Robyn is not about marriage. It's a power struggle. Right from the beginning, Robyn had exactly the right moves to make herself the favorite wife, and she played it with precision of a surgeon. Her grip on Kody is unshakable. And it's not love, it's control. Robyn has this sort of near-magnetic attraction that focuses all of Kody's attention and energy on her and her children. The consequence? Kody becomes more and more withdrawn from the other wives, particularly Christine, who sits idly by as Kody moves further under Robyn's influence. Kody's emotional dependence on Robyn is glaring. Rather than keeping balance among all his wives, he over-reliant on Robyn as a source of emotional support. This phenomenon is painfully evident you can observe this most clearly in the way Kody responds to family conflict. Every time tension is building, Robyn is the first to whom he turns, not only for comfort, but for reassurance. Robyn knows which buttons to push, assuring him that his decisions are correct, especially if it means prioritizing her needs over the others. This constant affirmation serves only to reinforce Kody's dependence on her. But here's where it gets tricky. Robyn doesn't just keep Kody away from the other wives. She actively stokes the drama. Take Christine, for instance, who was once so deeply invested in Kody. She becomes more and more isolated as Robyn manipulates the situation. Christine is aware of the favoritism growing and how it's eroding Kody's capacity to really connect with her. The agony of that widening chasm is palpable, and truly, it's devastating to see. Robyn is the quintessential supportive wife, the one who will hear all of Kody's grievances and ensure that his needs precede her own. And all along, the rest of the wives, particularly Christine, feel neglected and more invisible within the relationship. The difference between Kody's relationship with Robyn and with the other wives could not be more stark. With Robyn, it's a passionate emotional connection, close to obsessive. But with the others, it's like he's going through the motions. He's emotionally removed, barely there, and it's plain as day, most notably in his conversations with Christine, where he's combative and withdrawn. Yet with Robyn, he hangs on every word. This results in a poisonous atmosphere within the family. The favoritism, emotional manipulation, and consistent power imbalance between Kody and Robyn are what finally lead to the erosion of the relationships. It's not merely that Kody and Robyn are closer emotionally. They've made it practically impossible for the other wives to feel noticed or appreciated in the same manner. And the consequence? The family begins to come apart at the seams as the other wives realize they're no longer a priority in terms of their feelings, needs, and sense of value. When Christine made that gargantuan decision to leave the family, Christine's choice to leave shocked the Brown family. After years of emotional abandonment, she was finally choosing herself, placing her own happiness and well-being above all else. But Robyn's response? Far from sympathetic. Rather than seeing the pain and courage it had taken for Christine to leave, Robyn's reaction was a naughty combination of selfishness, victim mentality, and simple disregard for Christine's emotions. Robyn did not interpret Christine's leaving as growth or strength. Rather, she turned the situation around, portraying herself as the forsaken wife, abandoned by one who had been a co-wife and close friend. During the breakdowns and tears, somehow Robyn was able to position herself as the heroine of the drama, making herself the misunderstood wife who was betrayed. It was as if Christine's decision wasn't whether or not to heal and move on, but a direct affront on Robyn's own stability and emotional security. Robyn's tears, passive-aggressive jabs, and theatrics weren't really about looking out for Christine. They were about Robyn's own terrors. Terror of losing control, terror of being left behind in a toxic environment, and terror of unleashing chaos in her K-now. Contrast that with Christine's behavior. While Robyn holds on dearly to her position in spite of the dysfunction and manipulation that surround her, Christine walked away. She didn't remain stuck in a poisonous setting simply because it was convenient or saw her fixed in the family. She departed because she knew she had to, because of her sanity and her well-being. Christine had the courage to know that her own happiness was more important than keeping up the charade of a successful polygamous family. She confronted the emotional implications of her choice directly, knowing it wouldn't be simple, but believing it was the best for her own long-term well-being. Robyn was in extreme contrast, still very much mired in her own poisonous. Robyn was stuck in a negative cycle, refusing to acknowledge that her own actions and power over Kody were responsible for ripping the family apart. She had always put getting her emotional and financial needs met first. And her response to Christine's leaving made one thing terribly clear. It was all about what she lost, not about Christine's brave road to freedom. Robyn was unable to look beyond herself long enough to really grasp what Christine had been through. Christine's decision to place herself first and leave was a show of courage and self-knowledge, qualities that Robyn couldn't even start to acknowledge, much less emulate. Christine realized that remaining within that toxic dynamic would have only continued to erode her self-worth further. Robyn, instead, opted to remain and continue on the same hurtful cycles. And that's where the clear demarcation exists. Christine's departure wasn't merely leaving Kody, it was reclaiming her life. Robyn's desperate clinging to the circumstances, on the other hand, indicated she wasn't prepared to deal with the harsh realities concerning her own existence. Robyn's hypocrisy regarding her vision for the family is one of the most obvious contradictions in her entire story. Early on, when she first became a member of the Brown family, she would talk constantly about having a large, loving, harmonious, polygamous family. A family where all could live in peace and unity. It was almost a fairy tale dream. All the wives and kids living together in one ideal household, sharing everything, holding each other, and living as one big, happy family. Robyn portrayed herself as the glue that kept it all together, the emotional core of the household who would assist Kody in coping with the complexity of his various relationships. But as the months passed, her actions spoke a very different message. In actuality, Robyn's behavior was far from being unifying. In fact, particularly in those early stages of her marriage to Kody, she thrust precisely the opposite of the harmonious family she professed to desire. Even from the onset, her presence was the cause of a discernible change in the dynamic of the family once she became a part of it. She began to seclude her children and herself, forming a distinct, exclusive bubble within the family itself. She tended to reject the merging of her children with the other wives, constructing both physical and emotional walls that totally went against the sense of unity she had initially promised. This wasn't just about needing privacy, it was about manipulation and control. Robyn's conduct was the polar opposite of the ideal she presented to the outside world and the other wives. While she spoke of having a big, involved family, she purposefully kept her distance, not wanting to give up her time, space, or emotional resources. Her focus was always Kody and her kids, usually to the detriment of the other wives. This wasn't about creating a unified, intact family. This was about establishing herself as the preferred wife. She employed her children, her tears, and her incessant demands for attention from Kody as instruments to ensure that her needs took precedence. And when it was family gatherings, holidays, and special events, Kody's desire for closeness and her one-on-one relationship with Kody frequently caused her to cut the other wives out of the larger family loop. By refusing to participate in group activities or quietly working Kody until he was completely fixated on her, Robyn demonstrated repeatedly that she desired a smaller, more contained family setup. Robyn desired harmony, but on her terms, not the needs of the family as a whole. Her hypocrisy was not to be overlooked. She spoke of having a harmonious and welcoming family, but she constructed walls between her and the others. Rather than promoting inclusion and shared experiences, Robyn nurtured her own insecurities and fears, keeping the family at a distance and only putting them together when it served her agenda. Although Robyn asserts that family harmony is her ultimate goal, her behavior is a far cry from this. In her opinion, the perfect family is not one of genuine harmony. Rather, it is one in which she is at the center and everyone else must rotate around her. The dynamic between Kody and Robyn is a manipulative, emotionally dysfunctional, and disaptate dependency. On the outside, it could appear to be a normal love story, two deeply involved people creating a life together. But if you scratch beneath the surface, their connection is based on co-manipulation as each of them uses the other to meet their own agendas, frequently to the detriment of the rest of the family. Robyn is a master of emotional manipulation. When she feels her position in the family threatened or Kody's focus waning, she breaks out the guilt trips and victim routine. Her tears aren't authentic vulnerability. She's playing a calculated power card. These tears don't just command Kody's attention, but also present her as the sensitive wife who craves his emotional validation. This is a tactic that pressures Kody into protector and consoler mode, with him feeling guilty to prioritize her needs above everything else. Robyn's ability to create emotional turmoil keeps Kody addled on her, even if it means he sacrifices his relationships with the other wives. But Kody is not innocent in this poisonous exchange. His temper has been a thorn in the side of the family for a long time. And with Robyn, it's almost like they've discovered a common ground as emotional fireworks. Kody's explosive temper fits, and usually is directed at the other wives, tend to ignite more readily when Robyn is around. Frustration serves as an outlet for the tension Robyn creates, and she and Kody feed on the anger they create. They live off the chaos. Robyn receives the emotional validation she desires, and Kody is vindicated in his rotten behavior. This dysfunction becomes self-perpetuating in a self-reinforcing cycle neither appears eager to escape. Robyn and Kody have established a relationship based on division, manipulation, and emotional exploitation. Although their moves appear to be choreographed, they help in further exacerbating the cracks in the family. Kody's emotional abandonment of the other wives and Robyn's sole control over him leave the family more isolated than ever before. Rather than uniting to mend the cracks, they manipulate others to remain at the center of their own narrative, completely disregarding everyone else's needs. This back-and-forth manipulation is at the root of their toxic relationship and has contributed massively to splitting the family. Robyn's manipulative tactics have led to deep, long-lasting divides within the Brown family. Divides that extend even beyond emotional suffering. The once seemingly tight-knit family is now broken in ways that may never be fully repaired. Kody and Robyn's poisonous relationship is the central reason that what was once a promising, albeit messy, polygamous family falls apart. While Robyn has gotten precisely what she desired, Kody's full attention, it came at a high price. The other wives, her own psychological health, and the entire stability of their household. But what follows? Will Kody ever confront the reality of just how much harm Robyn's manipulation has caused the family? Will he realize the real toll his decisions are taking? Or is this poisonous dysfunction merely the new status quo for the Browns? The future of this family, and indeed of the show, is riding on those questions. What are your thoughts? Is Robyn the true villain in this situation? Or is Kody equally guilty of allowing this poisonous dynamic to go on? Leave your comments below. Your thoughts always matter. And don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth analysis of this drama as it unfolds. I promise you won't be disappointed by what's next.